So here's my Rube Goldberg project. I'm going to start with a brief overview of all the phases, and then I will go into depth of the three principles that I'm going to demonstrate. So at the start, I swing back this tennis ball, which then hits this tennis ball, which swings into the water bottle, which in the video is unscrewed because it is going to complete a secondary action of watering my plant. I actually had a dummy plant in the video just because I didn't want to overwater my plant, but regardless. Which then hits over these domino chains, hitting this mousetrap, which hits this green tape down the table, which knocks over this wood piece, which then hits this lever, knocking this brick off, which is attached to this pulley, which is also attached to the spring, and the spring is also attached to a different string. And so when the brick falls, it extends this spring, which then puts tension on this string right here, which lifts up this little wooden block, which has this tennis ball on it, which then rolls down this slightly inclined plank to then take a picture with the pin. So for the first principle I'm going to demonstrate, I'm going to show the conservation of momentum with this pendulum. So this tennis ball right here is actually filled with rocks, so it's heavier. And so when I swing this back, it's going to go forward, and then it hits this smaller or lighter tennis ball, which then goes off at a faster speed, and then this ball is left with a little bit of momentum from the impact. So they both are going to move off in this direction. But this one is going to slow down quite a bit because it's hitting this other ball. But their total momentum from the collision is conserved. And so that demonstrates the conservation of momentum. Because the loss in the velocity of this initial ball is accounted for by the increased velocity in this ball, since this ball is lighter than the other ball. And then for my second principle, I'm going to show the conservation of energy. So when this wood piece falls and hits this lever, it knocks this brick off like this. And I'm just going to set it there gently because I don't want it to swing. And so when it falls, it's going to transfer all of the gravitational potential energy it has, or not all of it. It's going to transfer some of the gravitational potential energy from sitting on the bucket into this spring. And when it does that, it's going to conserve the total energy in the system, because the loss from the drop off the bucket is going to then be turned into kinetic energy, which then will be turned eventually into the elastic potential energy here. So for my last principle, I'll be demonstrating Newton's second law using this inclined plane. So as this piece of wood comes under tension with this string, it puts the tennis ball onto this track and this plank, and then it starts accelerating. Well, it starts accelerating down the ramp. So the reason that it starts accelerating down the ramp is because there's a positive net force acting on the block. This is because the force of gravity acts directly downward, while the normal force of the plank acts slightly at an angle to vertical. So the net force is going to then be down and to the left, parallel to the block of wood. And since it's a positive force, and it's the sum of the forces do not equal zero, the block starts accelerating in the direction of the net force. So that is why the ball accelerates down the ramp.